Welcome to Chapter 6 of my softball protocol. This chapter is focused on the basics of fielding a fly ball. We'll start with explaining some golden rules of fly balls, then we'll move into the drop steps and also review the crow hop today. There are really two golden rules for basic tenets of fielding a fly ball. The first one is going to be that anytime we see a fly ball, our first step is always going to be back as opposed to taking our first step forward towards where the ball is coming from. This is because if we misjudge this ball and take a step forward when in reality it's over our heads and we need to then backtrack, this is much harder to do than the opposite scenario where we take our first step back and then realize we need to come back forward for the ball. It's much easier to go get a ball that's in front of us than it is to get a ball behind us. Therefore, we always want to make sure our first step is back when we're fielding a fly ball. The second golden rule of fly balls is that anytime we have the opportunity, we want to get behind the ball. I'll show you what I mean by getting behind the ball with this cone as an example. We'll let this cone represent the spot at which I'm going to make a catch on a fly ball. If I have the opportunity, I want to start and be sitting under this ball a couple steps behind so that when it's time to make the catch, I can be moving through and do my footwork and have all that power and momentum going towards my next target. If I'm just sitting at the place of the catch waiting, I'm missing an opportunity to take a lot of momentum forward through the throw. Anytime you're early and beat the ball to its spot, you want to be a step or two behind so that you can be running through the catch and do all your footwork and have a lot more power on your throw. Always remember our two principles of fly balls. The first is the first step is back, and the second is that we always want to catch by getting behind the ball anytime we have the opportunity. Next, let's discuss our drop step. The drop step is our first step that we take anytime a ball is going back over our heads. For this first example, I'm going to use the cone back here to my glove side as an example for taking a drop step towards your glove side. To do the drop step, we start in our ready position, and it's a 45-degree angle back and a very powerful step. And I get myself in a position where I'm ready to go run and sprint to this ball. Ideally, as we have already discussed, I beat the ball to its landing spot, get behind it with my feet still moving so I can step to catch, pop, and throw to my target. The drop step is important because this is the first step that's going to get us in a good position to go make a play on a ball. Something else to note for this drop step is as I'm running, my glove is tucked and in a good running position. I'm not running with my glove up because this is slow. I'm also going for this catch, and ideally, I will get behind the ball and make the catch. However, that's not always going to happen. So if you reach for the catch on the run, we've already learned two different pivots you can use to get this ball to your target. You can pop back to your target, or if you're really extended, you can spin and throw back to your target. The pivots are the same. This time it's just a fly ball instead of a ground ball. The next drop step is going to be one towards my throwing hand side, where I'm going to go field a fly ball at a spot that's represented by the orange cone back there. Because this ball is on my throwing hand side, my drop step begins with my throwing hand side foot. Again, this is a very powerful first step at a 45-degree angle back towards the ball so that I can start my sprint to beat the ball to its spot. And then I run through it and ideally get behind the ball so that I'm under it and can step to catch and move through the catch and throw. Alternatively, you're not always going to beat the ball to the spot, but we've already reviewed pivots for this angle where I can catch the ball and come back around, or I could catch, take a couple steps, rock, and fire if I need it. But always your goal should be to beat the ball to its spot so that you can then move through the ball. Next, we need to discuss what happens when you take your drop step, but then the ball ends up actually behind your other shoulder, so your trailing shoulder as opposed to the shoulder that's leading you back in the direction of your run. This is what we call the "oh no, we got burned and we need to make a last-minute adjustment to go make a play on a ball." In this example, I'm going to go catch this ball back here represented by this other orange cone. Let's say the ball's hit and I think it's going to be over my glove-side shoulder, so I drop step and start running. And then I realize the path of the ball is actually going over towards that orange cone. There's two different ways that I can change my direction to get this ball. Probably the easiest way for us to continue tracking the ball is to stop off of our glove side foot here and then pivot back and then continue our run back to catch this ball. That way is slow because we have to completely stop and then change direction, so that may be good to use if you have the time to get back to the ball. However, an advantage of that pivot is that your eyes never lose track of the ball. The other faster way, yet more challenging way to change your direction to go get that ball looks something like this. You've taken your drop step and you're running to get the ball and then realize it's actually back over your throwing side shoulder. The first thing that you do is turn your head back and get your eyes back on your fly ball and then continue running. This, of course, is a much more efficient way to pivot because you never have to stop your momentum or moving your feet. You're simply turning your head and changing the direction of your run. The biggest challenge of this pivot is that you're taking your eyes off the ball. This second option for when you get burned and taking your eyes off the ball is really ideal when you do not have the time to stop and then pivot by opening up towards the ball, but instead you're taking your eyes off the ball. Let's review the same options for when you get burned going in the other direction. Again, I'll use the orange cone back there as the example of the ball that I'm going to catch. But this time, I'm going to drop step towards my throwing side and go run for the ball. Now, if I need to redirect to that orange cone, I stop off my throwing side foot and then open up with my glove side foot to go back and catch this ball. The alternative is going to be the one where we take our eyes off the ball. You start in your ready position and you've drop stepped and you're running. And then the first thing that turns are your eyes back to the ball to go over and catch the ball at the cone. These both take some practice and take time getting used to when you need to use each one. Again, the pivot where you're going back and then opening up and keeping your eyes on the ball is slower, so it's something that you need more time to do. Whereas the one where you're going back and take your eyes off the ball and turn inside is going to be quicker, but more difficult because you have to then find the ball again. Let's review common mistakes players make when they go to catch a fly ball. The first one I see, especially when players are young and just learning how to catch a fly ball, is they run with their glove up. If I start here and go to catch a ball at this orange cone, I should be drop stepping and sprinting with my hands in a normal sprinting position. This is the fastest way to go get a ball. However, I see players drop stepping and running with their glove up all the way until the catch. We don't ever want to run with our glove up because this is so much slower. We want to run, sprint to the position of the catch, and then get our glove up at the time of the catch. The next common mistake I see players make when going to field a fly ball is called drifting. I'll show you what I mean by drifting using this cone back here as an example for the location of where I'm going to go catch this fly ball. Usually, players should be drop stepping and then sprinting to the spot of the catch to go make this catch on a fly ball and stay on that line that they have created for themselves. However, drifting occurs when the player drop steps and begins diverting away from the line and kind of going laterally in the outfield as they watch this ball. This makes them risk having the ball go over their head, but also will not allow them to get behind the ball when they have the opportunity to on the catch. Usually players are drifting when they're just trying to meet the ball at the spot of the catch instead of trying to beat the ball there so that they can get behind it on the catch. This next mistake is something that I see our younger players make, and that's the basket catch. We don't ever want to make a basket catch unless the ball is below our knees, because we're much stronger on the catch here and it's a quicker transfer. Versus when we do the basket catch, we risk miscatching the ball and it bouncing off the heel of our glove. This is much harder to do and is usually something younger players might do if they're scared of the ball. Always encourage players to catch with the fingers up. We don't catch with the basket catch kind of technique until the ball is below our knees, because we're able to bend and catch a ball with the fingers up anytime it's at our knees or above. Players also make a mistake while practicing fielding fly balls by making the catch and not following it with proper footwork. Anytime we're practicing, this is an opportunity we have to work on and improve something. And after we make the catch, working on the footwork is a great thing to do. Anytime I'm going to go catch this ball back here, I'm trying to, one, get myself in a position to get behind the ball and then do the footwork to come forward. Or two, if I cannot get behind the ball, I'm doing my footwork, either the pivot or the spin, to get this ball back to my target. I see mistakes when players are practicing and they run and just kind of lollygag back to the ball here, make the catch, and they'll just continue running, or they'll just do nothing and no footwork after the catch. In my opinion, this is a complete waste of a repetition. We should always be practicing in a game-like scenario. That means that we're looking to go make the next play. After you field a fly ball, you should be ready with your footwork to go make the next play, so you need to practice as such. One final mistake players make when fielding a fly ball occurs in a very specific situation. This is a situation where we kind of have a low-rise blooper that's going just above our head and is going to land back here where this orange cone is. The correct thing to do in this situation is you've been drop step and you're running, and you want to run through this catch. Even if you feel like it might be going over your head, the geometry of the arc of the ball is going to bring it down closer to you as you continue running to the spot where it's going to land. However, players often make a mistake because they feel like this ball is going over their head and they need to jump over it to get it. So they might be drop step, running, and end up jumping, and the ball goes just above their glove. This is a bad situation because now we've missed a catch and the ball's just rolling away from us, when we could have continued taking 2 or 3 more steps and the ball would have landed right in our glove. This is a very difficult catch to make and takes a lot of practice, but if you find that in this situation where you're kind of getting those low bloopers right over your head that you're jumping for and you keep missing them, you should try continuing to run and take a few extra steps to go cut that ball off and catch it. It will be more advantageous for you. The only time we end up jumping or diving even for this ball is after it's already over our head and we're about to make a catch down here. We can get low with this ball and then dive backwards if we feel like we need to. However, you should be fast enough and be sprinting with this ball to ideally catch it in the air, and the dive or jumping back is going to be a last resort. Anytime you jump straight up for this ball and it goes over your head, you missed an opportunity to continue running and likely make this catch. The final basic principle of fielding a fly ball that we have to review today is something that pretty much applies only to our outfielders, and that is the crow hop. Essentially, the crow hop is an exaggerated pop step in our footwork that outfielders want to use to get even more power behind their throw, since they have to throw the ball a lot farther than our infielders do. What a proper crow hop looks like is I'm going to catch this ball at the orange cone here, and then instead of my usual pop step, I'm going to take an even bigger one. I'm going to catch this ball and be really powerful and pop forward to my target. The crow hop should be powerful, but it should be in the direction of your target. What I mean by this is you saw that I stayed low and continued moving towards my target rather than going up. The biggest mistake players make with their crow hop is they step to catch and then they crow hop up. This to me is a complete waste of energy because I'm sending momentum vertically instead of right in the direction of my target. Yes, the crow hop is bigger and more powerful for our outfielders than the pop step might be for our infielders. However, it should be such in the direction of where we're trying to throw the ball rather than taking energy and wasting it vertically. Those were the basic principles of fielding a fly ball. They seem simple to discuss, but in reality are much harder to execute in practice and take a lot of intent and effort in order to get behind the ball and practice our footwork after the catch. Thank you for watching Chapter 6 of my softball protocol. Stay tuned for Chapter 7, where we'll review advanced concepts for outfielders. Let me know what questions I can answer for you.